In this world, both a hero and a demon king coexist. The hero is dedicated to fighting for the empire, while the demon king rules over the demonic realm. When they finally confront each other, it appears that this time, the hero is taking a more aggressive stance, according to the demon king. The hero derives power from the world solely to eliminate the demon king, while the demon king's purpose is to vanquish the hero. Meanwhile, those who unquestionably serve the demon king are known as corps commanders. During the battle between the demon king and the hero, one of the 12 corps commanders attacks the hero's companions. These 12 official corps, numbered from 1 to 12, are the ruthless and powerful subordinates of the demon king. It is believed that no one can match their strength, but even they struggle against the hero. However, there exists someone who has defeated a hero before. The Zero Corps commander, who is our protagonist, Demon Arut Dion Hart. His identity as the Demon King's secret weapon is widely known, and he is the talent most treasured by the Demon King. The scene shifts to the present as Demon Arut tenders his resignation as the Zero Corps commander. The Demon King, shocked and agitated, breaks his pen and scatters papers on his desk. He questions why Arut suddenly decided to abandon him, but then unexpectedly embraces him, expressing his unwillingness to let him go. The Demon King asks if Arut truly meant his resignation and inquire about the sudden decision. Dion avoids eye contact, making it difficult for the Demon King to discern his thoughts. The Demon King asks if Arut dislikes the Demon King's castle or if he feels discriminated against because he is human. The Demon King, surprised by these thoughts, reflects on Dion's undeniable strength despite his humanity, considering him the most potent asset he has. He wonders who would dare challenge him. Dion responds that his subordinates did nothing wrong. In response, the Demon King asks for the reason behind Arut's resignation. He realizes that Arut's thoughts are inscrutable from his expression. Dion asks if the king would kill him if he didn't provide a reason. The king is taken aback and assures Arut that he has no intention of killing him, emphasizing how much he treasures him. The king speculates if Arut's decision is related to not being sent to the borders lately or a desire for combat. Arut dismisses these notions and apologizes for his sudden nosebleed. Concerned, the Demon King urgently summons the Zero Corps commander's doctor. The doctor arrives with Arut's servant and examines his condition. The Demon King inquires about Arut's health, to which the doctor explains that it is an after effect of the injury sustained in the battle against the hero. The Demon King becomes angry, frustrated by the doctor's statement he doesn't want to hear what he already know, and commands her to find a swift cure. He implies severe consequences if she fails. The doctor agrees to do her best. The Demon King decides to continue their conversation later, urging Arut to focus on recovery. He instructs his servants to take Arut to his room. Though Arut insists he can go by himself, the doctor insists on accompanying him. As Arut was being transported to his room, he couldn't help but overhear some demons engaged in gossip about him. They wondered if the Zero Corps commander had coughed up blood again, speculating that he had thrown his body in front of the hero when the hero chose to self-destruct. The demons expressed amazement that he had suffered only minor injuries, and one of them mentioned hearing that Arut was still considered the second strongest individual in the demon realm, right after the Demon King himself, despite his current weakened state. The gossiping demons showed deep respect for Arut, even though he was human. They considered him to be the closest in strength to the Demon King and held him in high regard. However, Arut's mind was preoccupied with thoughts of a simpler life. He just wanted to resign from his position and live a normal existence, but the rumors and speculations around him persisted, and he couldn't escape their chatter. Everyone was hurrying up to the room and they arrived at Zero Corps commander room. The servants and the doctor vowed and says, "Please have a good rest." After being moved to his bed, Arut's mind raced with questions. Did he really kill the hero? Was he truly strong? He couldn't believe it, he was just Dion Hart, not Demon Arut. He considered himself the weakest human in the Demon King's castle. The notion of his strength seemed preposterous. The scene shifted as a maid approached, taking the cup from Arut after he had finished drinking. As he placed the glass on the tray, it nearly slipped, and the maid apologized. Arut commanded her to leave. As she departed, the maid thought that their hands had touched, and she assumed he was happy about it. However, Arut's thoughts were quite the opposite. He believed that she harbored a deep dislike for him, and he found it painful that she didn't even want to touch his hands. In contrast, he considered the Demon King's excessive concern stifling. A flashback scene showed the Demon King discovering Arut outside and questioning why he was out when he hadn't fully recovered. The king mentioned that he had instructed his subordinates to look after Arut. He emphasized the importance of eating to recover and even provided him with food, including a big roasted chicken. Returning to reality, Arut contemplated his predicament. He was just a human in a demonic realm, born with a naturally weak body that would crumble under the slightest stress. He had been mistakenly perceived as a strong individual, leading to his appointment as the Zero Corps commander. For now, he could maintain the facade that his condition was due to the battle with the hero. However, the thought of someone discovering his innate weakness filled him with dread, as he believed it would lead to his demise. He couldn't bear the idea of the Demon King and the 12 commanders ridiculing him as a feeble plaything. Arut resolved that he must escape from this place at any cost and seek a peaceful, worry-free life. His only path to achieve that was to leave the demonic realm behind. With determination, he declared, "I need to get out of this place at all costs and as peacefully as possible. I'm going to live a long and worry-free life. The only way to achieve that is to get out of the demonic realm." Dion's thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Ed, the aide to the Zero Corps commander. Dion was surprised to see him and asked if he had just returned from the human world. Ed confirmed that he had and showed Dion a new cube called the Mirror Cube. Ed was one of the few demons that Dion felt comfortable around. Ed would often venture into the human world and bring back trinkets for Dion to play with, helping to alleviate his boredom. Ed mentioned that the Mirror Cube might help with Dion's boredom, but then he hesitated and asked if Dion had collapsed. Dion admitted that he had, but reassured Ed that he was fine now. Ed pondered how to improve Dion's condition and expressed anger toward the hero for causing it. Dion thought to himself that he might need to be reborn, but he didn't share this thought. Instead, he mentioned that he had brought this upon himself. Ed disagreed, saying, "That's not true. Didn't you stop the hero for the sake of saving us all?" Dion thought otherwise, but didn't voice his thoughts. Ed was determined to find a cure. Before leaving, Ed advised Dion to get ample rest. After Ed left, Dion reflected, "Well, there aren't many demons that'd care about me as much as he does. I am thankful to him." However, he felt that Ed's concern might be a bit excessive. He also hoped that their interactions wouldn't lead to any misunderstandings. In the Demon King's castle, the scene shifted to the Demon King as he examined Dion's resignation. The Demon King couldn't discern Dion's thoughts from his expressionless face, but smiled, thinking that Dion had always been unpredictable from the moment they met. A flashback was shown of the hero lying unconscious, leaning on Dion's body. The demons around them believed that Dion had killed the hero and prevented his self-destruction. They marveled at the impressive individual the Empire had sent. The Demon King asked Dion for his name, and Dion introduced himself as Dion Hart. The king offered Dion a place in the Demon King's army. Back in the present, the Demon King reflected on how things had changed since Dion joined them. He couldn't send Dion on missions due to his condition, but suddenly had an idea while looking at some papers. He promptly ordered a meeting of the Corps commanders and was excited about the possibility that his plan might satisfy Dion. A demon guard respectfully saluted as he laid eyes on his lord, Arut. Dion emerged from his quarters, visibly annoyed and deeply upset. He couldn't help but lament that the chance for a pleasant rest had been snatched away by the Demon King's summons. What puzzled him was that the king himself had advised him to rest initially. Dion couldn't fathom why the king had abruptly convened a meeting for the Corps commanders. As he walked, fear crept over him. He contemplated whether this meant that all the Corps commanders within the Demon King's castle had been called as well. Dion found it hard to believe that he was about to meet the other commanders, considering he was already petrified of ordinary demons. He couldn't shake the feeling that the king might be leading him to his demise. Two guards, observing his demeanor, discussed Dion's mood. One of them remarked, "Is he feeling any better now?" The other guard responded, "He appears quite angry about the sudden summons." Dion, immersed in his thoughts, realized he needed to maintain a composed facade. He understood that provoking them would be a losing battle. He sighed and managed to calm himself. Meanwhile, two demon guards engaged in their own conversation. One guard asked her companion for the name of the newcomer and questioned if he was the rumored human. It was her first time encountering Dion. Unable to recall Dion's name, her fellow guards began recounting a story. He recounted the time when Dion had slain a hero, and when questioned by the Demon King about his identity, Dion had casually responded, "I'm Demon Arut." The guard was astounded and exclaimed to her fellow guard, "Now you won't forget his name." She replied, "Well, that's the most demon-like name I've ever heard." Overhearing their conversation, Dion corrected them by stating that he had introduced himself as Dion Hart, not Demon Arut. The two guards, sensing Dion's sour mood, grew cautious but continued their chit-chat. One mentioned hearing that Dion was stressed because he couldn't engage in combat at the moment. The other suggested they leave immediately before Dion considered them obstacles. Dion felt devastated, realizing he stood no chance against them. He believed he was utterly weak. He wondered why the misunderstanding seemed to deepen over time, but he found solace in the fact that nobody dared to provoke him as a result. He understood that if he were caught in this situation, he would face immediate death. He couldn't let anyone discover his vulnerability before he escaped the demonic realm. He resolved to act with confidence, projecting an image of fearlessness as the commander of the Zero Corps, Demon Arut. On his way to the meeting, Dion encountered two guards who were taken aback by his newfound arrogance and confidence. Dion, maintaining his facade, commanded them to open the door. Upon his arrival at the meeting, the Demon King announced, "Last but not least, we have the Zero Corps commander joining us." The king's delight at seeing him was evident as he remarked, "You're here." Dion maintained a serious demeanor and was taken aback by the palpable tension in the room. The first corps commander, Jakar, suggested that Dion should sit next to the king. Meanwhile, the third corps commander, Asild, observed him and couldn't shake the feeling that Dion appeared weak, despite his reputation. Asild secretly longed for a chance to test Dion's strength in battle. The sixth corps commander, Velaton, voiced his disapproval, questioning if accomplishing an objective was any excuse for being late. The fourth corps commander, Idalia, light-heartedly slapped Velaton on the back, commenting, "I'm sure he has his reasons." Velaton responded with annoyance, wondering what was going on. The 11th corps commander, Ririnal, expressed outrage at what she perceived as disrespect towards Lord Arut, deeming it impudent. Dion, Zero Corps commander Demon Arut, found himself seated next to the king, overwhelmed by the sheer number of corps commanders present. He couldn't help but feel anxious and stressed, yearning to retreat to his room. The Demon King inquired about Dion's well-being, to which Dion replied with an apology for his tardiness. The king reassured him, stating that it was understandable and that Dion wasn't late on purpose. However, Dion couldn't help but think that he had indeed been late on purpose, driven by his reluctance to attend the meeting. A demon servant approached Dion, offering to pour him a drink. Dion's expression remained serious, but internally, he felt a surge of happiness. He thought, "It's here." He took a sip of the drink, thinking about how one could indulge in expensive alcohol during meetings in the demonic realm. This was the primary reason he had reluctantly attended the meeting. Suddenly, he realized that the drink wasn't alcohol but grape juice. Dion's disappointment was palpable, and they couldn't help but feel the weight of it. However, before tensions could escalate further, the Demon King intervened with a stern command, "Stop it, Arut. I ordered them to do this. Dion, you and your love for alcohol." Dion questioned, "Why am I the only one?" and the king responded, "Do you really not know?" Dion couldn't help but wonder if this was a case of discrimination against humans. Then, suddenly, a realization struck Dion, "Wait a minute. Is he trying to save on alcohol because he discovered how useless I am? Did he finally find out about me? In that case, have they gathered here to announce my end?" Dion's thoughts were interrupted as the king urged everyone to hear him out, as Dion was the reason for calling the meeting. Dion couldn't help but wonder if their execution was the actual plan. The king then instructed the 6th Corps commander to share the details of the document submitted to him. The 6th commander explained that although the 12 Corps had been protecting the village, there was a sudden, sharp increase in the number of demonic monsters. The 12 Corps could no longer handle the situation. After these monsters destroyed half of a small village, the remaining residents were evacuated to a fortified city. However, there was uncertainty about when that city might be ambushed, so reinforcements were needed to hunt down the demonic monsters. As the 6th commander finished their report, the other commanders began discussing the absence of the 12 Corps commander. They couldn't help but wonder if they had been killed by mere demonic monsters. Someone cautioned, "Watch what you say, even mere demonic monsters can become formidable if they band together." One commander added, "But they're just failed products, aren't they?" Dion couldn't help but think, they're making such a huge ruckus. He understood their surprise, though. Among the demons that the Demon King had created, these demonic monsters were senseless beings, loyal only to their instincts and desires. They were considered failed products. Dion found it hard to believe that the 12 Corps commander had lost to these demonic monsters. Nevertheless, he couldn't help but wonder, but what does this have to do with me? The 6th Corps commander continued to report, explaining, "We're at war every day because there are too many demonic monsters. We don't know the reason for their sharp and abrupt increase in numbers." The Demon King replied, revealing, the now deceased hero used to kill those monsters. It's no surprise that he got killed when they gathered and charged at the village. Suddenly, the focus of the room shifted to Arut, the hero lord who had allegedly slain the hero. Arut's face contorted with despair as he thought, "Is this it? Are they intending to kill me using this as an excuse? But, in the first place, I never killed the hero." His gaze locked onto the Demon King, his eyes burning with anger and frustration. Arut couldn't help but think, more importantly, isn't the Demon King the one who tried to kill the hero in the first place? If anyone's responsible, it should be you. Demon King, say something. The king, a cunning and astute ruler, noticed Arut's accusing gaze. He couldn't help but think, those eyes, I knew it. He suspected that Arut might be itching for a confrontation. With a sly smile, the Demon King responded to the 6th commander's concerns, "Don't worry. The 0 Corps shall be dispatched as reinforcements." Arut's mouth fell open in disbelief. He was genuinely surprised by the king's decision. Arut thought in bewilderment, what? What the hell is he talking about? The Demon King continued to smile, feeling satisfied with his decision. He addressed Arut directly, saying, "Go there and relieve some stress. I know you wanted to go there." In his mind, the king thought, "I did well, didn't I?" The 6th commander, a keen observer of the situation, couldn't help but note how casually the Demon King seemed to be treating the assignment. The Demon King is speaking as if he's just sending him on a neighborhood patrol, he mused. It was evident that the Demon King placed immense trust in the 0 Corps commander, believing that he could achieve what the 12 Corps commander could not. This raised a burning question in the 6th commander's mind, just how strong is he for the Demon King to trust him so much? Arut, on the other hand, reluctantly responded to the Demon King's decision. "My body isn't in perfect condition though," he said aloud. However, internally, he pleaded, "Please don't make me go. Tell me not to go." 3rd Corps commander picked up on Arut's hesitation and began to speculate, does he not want to go? The 1st Corps commander chimed in, expressing doubts. "I thought he'd make excuses and say that he doesn't want to go after hearing the report, but he's probably suppressing his desire to go on a rampage while calmly assessing his body's condition." 3rd Corps commander found himself agreeing, exclaiming, "Oh, is that so? That's amazing." He was genuinely impressed by Arut's self-control and composure. The 1st Corps commander, though still wary of Arut, acknowledged, "While I still don't trust him yet, that attitude of his is truly that of a great commander's." As the 3rd Corps commander looked at Arut, he couldn't help but think, not only is he strong, but he is also able to make good judgments. My desire to fight him is increasing. The Demon King clarified his intentions, assuring Arut that he wasn't asking him to overexert his body. Instead, he was simply requesting that Arut take command of the 0 Corps and relieve some stress in the village. With a knowing smile, he asked, "That should be easy for you, right?" Arut hesitated for a moment, his internal struggle evident. "I don't care if the Demon King permits it. I'll definitely escape from this damn demonic realm." he thought fiercely. But after clenching his hands and weighing his options, he finally gave in. "In that case, I'll go," he said aloud, resigning himself to the task ahead. The chariot of demons moved silently through the dark forest, shrouded in an eerie silence. Inside the carriage, Dion remained lost in his thoughts, overwhelmed by grief and a sense of inevitability. This day finally had to come, he mused bitterly. Since I tried to run away, the D-Day has only gotten closer. A flashback revealed a moment when the Demon King had caught him packing, sensing his strong desire to escape. The king had apologized for keeping him waiting, to which Dion had reluctantly responded, "No, this is. Yes, I'm dying to go." However, his luggage wasn't meant for a journey to freedom, it was for fleeing to the Empire. He couldn't openly discuss his intentions with the Demon King, especially considering the lunatic emperor who had sent him to the Demon King and his hostile brother. Despite the challenges, Dion saw fleeing to the Empire as a better alternative to meeting an untimely death among monsters. He had decided not to entertain optimistic thoughts. Dion pulled back the carriage curtain to catch a glimpse of the outside world and spotted his aide, Ed. He had heard that the Zero Corps, as well as Ed, were highly competent. He felt confident that he could simply play his part and step away, letting them handle the rest. Another demon within the carriage engaged Ed in conversation, mentioning their imminent arrival at the village. Ed, in command, urged everyone to stay in ranks and maintain their vigilance. Dion, however, believed there was no reason for him to intervene. Even the Demon King had advised him not to overexert himself. Now that he was done with worrying, he simply wanted to enjoy his solitude within the carriage. He retrieved a bottle of wine labeled Demonic Realm Specialty Wine, a rare and exquisite beverage crafted only in the Demon Realm. Despite being unable to partake in it during the meeting due to the Demon King's presence, Dion wasn't about to give up so easily. When the meeting had adjourned, he had discreetly stolen the bottle. As he opened the bottle and took a sip, Dion couldn't help but think, "They say the aura of the spirit who died drinking this is out of this world, so I should at least try this before I die, right?" The wine was delicious, and he let out a satisfied sigh. In that moment, savoring the exquisite taste of the Demon Realm's wine, he felt a rare sense of contentment and vitality amidst the looming uncertainty of his future. Ed couldn't help but wonder why Dion had grown so quiet inside the carriage, drawing the curtains as if to isolate himself further from the world. He suspected that Dion might still be reeling from the incident that had occurred before their departure. In a flashback scene, a servant had approached Dion and mentioned that he knew Dion preferred riding horseback. However, he pleaded with Dion to ride inside the carriage until he had fully recovered, citing it as an order from the Demon King. Dion's internal response was clear, "What is he talking about? Of course, I should ride in the carriage. Who said I wanted to ride that ferocious beast?" Outwardly, Dion simply replied, "Well, all right." Ed, who had served Dion for a long time, could sense that Dion truly wanted to ride the horse. In the present moment, Ed wished he could encourage Dion to do as he pleased. However, the Demon King's order was for Dion's well-being, and Ed could almost imagine the Demon King's voice chastising him, "Are you insane? You thought it would be okay to have him ride horseback even after judging the state of his health?" Ed's attention was diverted when another demon called him, informing him that they were approaching the village. As they arrived, a scene of chaos unfolded before them. Houses were ablaze, and corpses littered the area. It was a nightmarish sight, suggesting that the demonic monsters had already wreaked havoc and moved on. Ed wasted no time. He commanded the group to chase after the demonic monsters, suspecting they hadn't gone too far. But suddenly, without warning, a group of these creatures appeared, forcing the Zero Corps to take defensive positions. The demons swiftly brandished their swords, and goblins charged at them, turning the scene even more chaotic. As Ed surveyed the turmoil, he realized that there seemed to be no end to these relentless foes. And then, a larger and more menacing monster appeared right in front of him, catching Ed off guard and leaving him in shock. The battle had taken an unexpected turn, and the Zero Corps were facing an even greater threat than they had anticipated. The scene shifted to the First Corps commander, who voiced concerns to the Demon King about whether the Zero Corps would be sufficient for the subjugation of the demonic monsters. He believed that due to the high number of monsters, reinforcements should be sent. The Demon King, however, appeared confident and assured the commander that the Zero Corps was strong enough. He emphasized that even if they faced real danger, they had someone who could handle it. Dion. Back in the village, Dion emerged from the carriage, wielding 2 daggers. He swiftly dispatched the monster that had been attacking Ed. Ed called out to Dion, expressing gratitude and explaining that he had been about to request help from him. But suddenly, Dion pointed a knife at Ed, his eyes betraying a hint of drunkenness. He questioned, "Are you my opponent as well?" Ed was taken aback and narrowly evaded the knife, clarifying that he was not an enemy. Ed began to ponder how Dion had obtained alcohol in the midst of this chaos. However, his attention was quickly diverted to his right, where a massive monster loomed. Dion inquired if this creature was his opponent. Without waiting for a response, the monster struck him, sending him flying into a pile of rocks. Ed was concerned for Dion, who now had blood on his back and was seated in front of the rocks. Dion confirmed that the monster was indeed the enemy and charged toward it with lightning speed. He attacked the creature like an assassin possessed by madness, stabbing and slashing with deadly precision. His face bore an insatiable thirst for battle, and he seemed to be consumed by a relentless fighting spirit. The transformation in Dion was nothing short of astonishing, and Ed could only watch in awe as his commander unleashed a fury that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The soldiers of the Zero Corps watched in awe and disbelief as they witnessed the true capabilities of their commander, Demon Arut. Dion, in his transformed state, had become an unstoppable force. He swiftly dispatched the monstrous adversary, and as he stood triumphantly atop the fallen creature, he taunted, "Now it's your turn." Dion's demeanor had shifted dramatically. His facial expressions now resembled that of a joker, a twisted and manic grin etched onto his face. He continued to paint the battlefield with the blood of their enemies, delivering terror to the very core of their foes. His laughter rang out amidst the chaos, a chilling and unsettling sound that seemed to emanate from a place of madness. In the midst of this savage display, Dion couldn't help but reflect on the irony of his situation. He pondered how, with his supposedly weak body, he had managed not only to survive, but to thrive in this unforgiving world. It was a paradox that struck him as he reveled in the carnage, leaving his comrades both astonished and fearful of the power that had been unleashed within their commander. As Dion was on rampage, the scene shifts to the Empire. In the Empire, Emperor Eduardo Desert engaged in conversation with a hero who had returned from a mission to survey the demon realm. The hero reported to the king that during the latest subjugation effort, the commander of the Zero Corps had taken part. The hero described this commander as extremely strong and brutal, confirming the rumors that had circulated. He added that the commander of the Zero Corps was rumored to be the most prized talent of the Demon King. The king listened intently, and a hint of nostalgia tinged his words as he expressed missing someone. He mused that if the demons wanted to field their most talented individuals, the empire should make its own preparations. The king then revealed that he had a perfect candidate in mind for such a role and offered the hero a special opportunity to achieve greatness. With the royal order extended to him, the hero accepted the challenge, setting the stage for a potential clash between the empire and the demon realm, with the most skilled individuals on both sides poised to take center stage in the unfolding conflict. Did you enjoy the story? If so, please consider showing your support by liking and subscribing to my channel. Your encouragement keeps us going. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace.